Hi, welcome to another episode of Nerd Supernova. I am your host, Paul Michaels, with my co-host,
KJ McDermott.
Alrighty. So today we're going to be talking about Civil War, or excuse me, Captain America Civil War, but it's basically Avengers Civil War. Yes, of course. Yeah, so obviously there's going to be spoilers in this review. We're going to go into basically everything, dealing with every mid-credits and end-credits sequence, so stop listening now if you haven't seen the movie yet. But at this point, let's just go right into it, man. What didn't you love about this movie? I mean, it was pretty good, to say the least.
What didn't I like?
I mean, this is mostly just nitpicking, because I think we're going to go full-on love fest at this point.
Before is that the whole bit with the shield I thought was kind of lame at the end. Because it's like in each movie it seems like he has a different shield, even though he's only supposed to have one. But
yeah, it's like he gets a different color coding for each shield.
Well, yeah, Winter Soldier, he had like the light blue one.
Yeah.
And
this one, it's all color coded again.
Yeah, but then also in Age of Ultron, he had one that had magnetic. It had metal straps to it, and it had like magnetic powers. That he had like a gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if it was in this one or not, because I don't think he had had a reason to use the metal. So yeah, you were saying because like he loses the shield in Winter Soldiers.
Oh yeah, in the end of Winter Soldier when it falls off the helicarrier and just like falls into the water.
But it gives reason why he would have the magnets in Age of Ultron. But I never thought of a moment where he really could use the magnets if they were still on the shield at this point.
I thought it was funny when Spider-Man's like, that shield defies physics or whatever. Whereas like that's the thing, is like when he like can throw it and then if he can summon it back with the magnetic gauntlet or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes sense as to why it always comes back to him. Otherwise, he's just like a mathematical genius, and
maybe he is. We just don't know it.
I would hate to play him in pool.
Yeah, I hear that. Or Daredevil for that matter. But yeah, I mean that's another nitpick. My other nitpicks I want to go into. There's nitpicks, and then I understand like why they did it, and it's with Spider-Man. But again, I understand why the points were done. First being that it's a funny joke, but he makes reference to that old movie when he's putting the ropes around Giant Man's legs and falls over. But you and I both know that even millennial Peter Parker would probably know what Empire Strikes Back is.
Peter Parker hates Star Wars.
What?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Spider-Man doesn't like Star Wars.
What?
Yeah.
When
you can look it up.
When did this become a thing?
A while ago.
Really?
He's not a fan.
Did you look this up after the movie, or did you know this going in?
I knew it growing up, but then, yeah.
Alright. That's really weird. I did not know that. Okay.
But then it also just adds a joke as to him being young.
That too. Well, that's what I assumed. So my nitpick is that I just assumed that they did that to like age him a little bit and to age us at the same time, because we're like, I would say, the core audience watching this. So it makes us feel more in tune with Rhodey and Tony. Like, how old is this kid? How does he not know what Empire Strikes Back is? It's like one of the biggest sci-fi adventure movies of all time, let alone movies of all time. That old movie. You're an old movie, Peter Parker.
I'm trying to find it.
No, you're looking stuff up on your phone right now. Alright, while you're doing that, the other nitpick I had with him, but again, I understand why they did it the way they did, because it would have been awkward if he had just said it in response to Tony, when Tony asked him, why do you do what you do? If he had just gone on right said, with great power comes great responsibility. But he doesn't mention his Uncle Ben.
Yeah, that's I knew that he wasn't just going to come out and say that quote, because he was trying to not. Because the whole Uncle Ben thing is like his personal secret. Like,
his personal demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and he's not just going to openly be like, oh, I do it because, I didn't do something and my uncle died.
Yeah.
That would be like, oh, well, we just met each other, like, we only know each other, like,
bye! And just leaves. Yeah, he leaves out the door. And that's just, yeah. No, and he's obviously not going to tell, like, I assume he idolizes Tony to some degree. He's not going to tell his hero that, yeah, I fucked up and my uncle died because of my idiot mistakes. Oh, okay, well, You're obviously not good for the team. I'll see you later. Okay, so you can't find proof, but you know that Peter Parker hates Star Wars.
What I heard.
Or is he hates or just not a fan?
I just think he's not a fan.
That's too bad. I don't know. You know what? He deserved to lose his girlfriend.
And his uncle, and his jobs, and rough time in education.
No, not now, because now in the comics he's rich and a billionaire and low rent Tony Stark. I don't know. Dan Slott needs to get off that title, but that's another subject for another day. Okay, so there's that nitpick. The other nitpick being, I guess, is Baron Zemo.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, it's the thing I see is like, I mean, again, I get why it's done and how it's done, and I think it works well for the story. I think he made a good villain for the story, and they needed to give him a name that was related to the comics, because it would have been kind of just weird if it was just some dude.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe Schmo, or Dan Bradley brought down the Avengers. It's like, okay. I mean, it would have been interesting, I guess, in the context of like just a normal man.
No, the Avengers were defeated by
Carl. It would have been interesting. It would have been an interesting take to see like just a normal guy take them down, like some nobody. But they knew it would mean more to the fans if it was related to something like a villain from the comics and whatnot.
Die, so he can always come back.
And he can always be, yeah. So the thing is too, if you haven't seen the movie or if you're being spoiled right now, he's not really the extent of what Baron Zemo is in the comics. He doesn't have the mask. He doesn't have the legacy of like his ancestor who fought Captain America. None of that's displayed. He's basically a guy who had a family in Sokovia during the Age of Ultron attack, and he lost his father and his wife and his child all in that giant attack because of the Avengers. That being said, the way I want to state this very clearly, this film is really well written. I mean, really, really well written and well thought out to the point like where the villain, like Black Panther, comes face to face with him, and it's not like attacking him or anything, but they're just sitting on like a hillside, because at this point you can tell he's just given up, and he's like, yeah, you know, like, I understand what I did, you know, but when I lost my family, you know, the Avengers went home. And I could have tried to destroy them, but better men have tried and failed. But if I could get them to destroy each other, now that would be something entirely different. And so, I don't know. I love the way that was done and just how that was put out there. But I would like him to become more like the Zemo that I'm used to from the Captain America comic.
That's why they kept him alive.
Yeah. Also, because I feel like the Russo brothers take from the Brubaker run. Later down the road, when Bucky becomes Cap in the comics, Zemo becomes one of his primary villains, to the point like where he messes with him quite a bit. So I could see that continuing from Civil War, coming from the comics, and maybe expanding Zemo's role later down the road. I think that would be great. What's the other nitpick that I had? Crossbones. So Crossbones, in the whole span of the Marvel Universe, is not a huge villain. However, in the Cap Rogues gallery, he's quite a formidable villain. And I mean, in the comics, he's basically, I think, the right-hand man to Red Skull. So he's quite a interesting character in that regard. And they built him up very, very well in Winter Soldier. So I was more than ready to see him be used to the full extent in Civil War. And everything you see of him, yeah, everything you see of him is great and awesome, and he's fighting like hand-to-hand Cap, like with enhanced robotics and whatnot, as well as like a good power suit. And then he's a human bomb, and then he's thrown up, and then he's dead. I mean, I assume he's dead, but like, yeah, literal human bomb.
He actually was drawn into another dimension where he gets more powers and comes back.
Well, that's Red Skull, I think. All right. Well, you said you had your you had your retort to that, and you assumed that they might have done that because
I thought there was a joke for all the people who were predicting Captain America to die by crossbones.
Yeah, because that's what happens in the comics, more or less.
Well,
yeah, there's other stuff in there, but Crossbones is known as the assassin who kills Captain America.
He didn't actually do it though. He had I think it's like Sharon Carter. Right?
Yeah.
Kills him.
No, yeah. Well,
he pulled the trigger.
Well, he shoots Cap, but he shoots him through the shoulder because he misses because of Falcon intervenes at the last second. But the close shots were revealed later by Sharon Carter, who's under mind control. So, but you're saying that they might have done that to basically throw fans off and be like, yeah, Crossbones out of the picture.
Middle finger to people to be like, oh my God, it's Civil War, and Crossbones is in it. Tony's gonna die. Then it's just like, ha ha, fool you.
You know nothing.
Crossbones died.
But yeah, I loved everything about that, the way they built up that character, and then to kind of just throw him away like that, I was a bit pissed off. So those are my biggest nitpicks, honestly, about the film. Probably more stuff will come later down the road as the film progresses.
Up and using the Infinity Gauntlet, he brings back all of the dead bad guys at once. He's just like, ho ho ho! All the dead bad guys pop up.
That could honestly happen in Infinity War for all we know. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, but more nitpicks will probably come down the line. But yeah, I mean, as far as the film itself goes, though, pretty well done. We were making fun of Spider-Man earlier. I mean, because I think everyone's gonna want to know who's listening. But yeah,
those one people.
Spider-Man though, pretty awesome. I mean,
I liked it, which as I said to you before, is that it puts a lot of pressure for his solo movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was excellent in this movie, and it's setting the bar very, very high for his solo movie. So therefore, they gotta knock it out of the park, or else people are gonna be like, meh. Especially because they were already hesitant about seeing a third Spider-Man on the screen already. Like,
you are the chosen one. You're supposed to bring it out of the darkness, not more into it. I don't know. I just assume that's one critic yelling at Marvel Studios, throwing rocks at their windows or something.
But I feel confident that they know what they're doing and they won't let it fail because they know that they can't let it fail. Yeah, well,
we were talking about this. So the bad news, at least from a fan point, is that from what I know, I want to call it the New Vacation movie with Ed Helms. The writers of that movie are supposedly are writing Spider-Man: Homecoming. However, the good news is that it is being shepherded by Marvel. Maybe the writers are big fans, but I've heard, and I mean, I guess it's more rumor than anything, but I've heard that basically Brian Michael Bendis is supposedly script doctoring the script itself. Anyone doesn't?
Good then.
Yeah. Anyone at home who doesn't know, Brian Michael Bendis is one of the big architects of modern Marvel. He also wrote the entire Ultimate Spider-Man line from the Ultimate Universe, which is, if you haven't read that run, you should definitely read it. It's very, very good. Guy knows Spider-Man, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah, but definitely, as you said, the bar is being set very high for the Spider-Man movie. So, Black Panther. Any words on Black Panther, on how you feel about Black Panther?
I feel like they're waiting for his solo movie to dive more into his character because he was awesome in this and like his fighting style, but you barely get to know. They only kind of hint about like the powers and everything, you know, like vibranium suit. They mentioned that, but then like you really don't know how the warrior is chosen and what they have to go through to get their powers and what his powers are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're saving that up for the solo movie, like one of the towards like the end credits when they're in when they're in Wakanda and he like looks out and there's the giant panther statue and everything.
Yeah, I think it's good though. The thing is too is that the thing I like the most about this film, because this goes back to Black Panther, but every character I felt was given the adequate amount of time that they needed. And even to the point of like where Spider-Man is set up just pretty much perfect for his own movie, but Black Panther actually has his own arc. Like he has his own purpose and meaning. Like you see everything with him. You see him being with his dad, who's the king of Wakanda and representing the state in the United Nations. But you can tell, even with just a few words of dialogue, that obviously, you know, maybe Prince T'Challa did not want to be diplomatic, but maybe he had to choose to be because he knows that's the way of how things are in their culture and whatnot. And you know, he knew it would make his dad proud. And then, right as that acceptance happens, his dad is murdered. Yeah. You know, and then he's just thrown.
You can't be a superhero without murdered parents.
Just happens, I guess. But no, I think that's interesting too because in the original comics, the guy who's already been introduced in the MCU, Ulysses Klaue, is the murderer of King T'Challa. I mean, or King. I forget how the name of the
I hear they're doing motion capture for his whole performance next time.
Just because, Andy Serkis, you're really ugly, so we want you to just be in motion capture. We can't. I'm sorry. We just have to say it to you. No, you know what? I think he's a fine looking guy, and he's also a really good actor. I'm glad that he's gonna have a role in the future Black Panther film without fucking motion capture, because I've been just sick and tired of that stuff with him. Just like, he can act outside of motion capture. He's a pioneer in that, and he helps the biggest directors with this stuff. But let him act in a live action role. So no, but they use that, and then Black Panther is put in full swing as the Black Panther and stuff like that. And they make enough references to the Wakanda culture, like just enough that it really does intrigue you. Like, you want to visit Wakanda, you want to know like what the big deal is, and like how this part of this world differs from the rest of the world too. Because in the comics, they have extreme advanced technology comparative to like the rest of the Earth, pretty much too. Mostly because of the vibranium that they have in their part of their land and whatnot. So I think that's really cool. Like, I'm really excited for that. But yeah, he has a whole arc. He has a whole arc that he goes through with just trying to hunt down the Winter Soldier because he believes Winter Soldier is responsible for the murder. And he's finding out about Zemo, and even when he knows that Zemo is the guy responsible, he doesn't just kill him. He basically like holds back and just is like contemplative and like matures as a character. And then the fact that he houses Bucky in the mid-credit sequence to help him out personally to get better as a human being, that's not a agent waiting in the dark, with trigger words and whatnot, shows that he's kind of come full circle as like a character.
Helping him? I thought he was just freezing him.
Well, he's freezing him, but he's helping him. He's giving him a way out from not being hunted by the government or the other Avengers or whatnot, and trying to help him out. So it shows it kind of comes full circle as like that character goes. So I thought that was cool. I have other stuff I want to talk about, but is there anything else that jumps out for you personally as far as the film goes?
Keep going. I'll jump in when I need to.
Okay. Well, I love the fact that they brought back Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. Pretty
much. It'd been so long since he'd been in the movies, I legitimately forgot that he was Ross when I saw in the trailers. I was like, oh, they got William Hurt to play a government type. Okay. I was like, oh, no, wait, he's Ross from The Incredible Hulk. And that's perfect because he's very much, he's a government guy. He's a American hero. So he's got all this support and everything. But we, as comic fans, know that he's like the arch nemesis to Hulk. He hates the Hulk, and anything associated with the Hulk, for that matter. So obviously he'd be the perfect enemy to start putting out this stuff to go against the Avengers and whatnot. And that whole scene with like the raft where Tony is landing on the helicopter, and it's basically just Ross sitting there, and you see all the good guys in cells that have been caught. And if Tony hadn't got the message by that point, like it would have been a much more difficult film to watch. But he does, and it's awesome. I just love the fact that they use Ross to a good extent. And without the Hulk even being in there, which is great. So I thought he was used very well. The stuff because they hinted it very slightly in Age of Ultron, but here it's definitely more on display, is the relationship between Vision and Scarlet Witch. I thought that was great. The fact that they have Vision coming into dressing in human clothes was a great touch, because it shows that he's trying to be more like them. Yeah, as he was too in the comics, and I thought that was a great thing that they did.
I thought it was not subtle at all, foreshadowing him talking about the mind gem, like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, everyone knows that's coming though, so it's not,
It's like, oh, I want to understand it. I want to get rid of it. It's like, well, don't worry.
You gotta have your moment.
Some big purple-skinned guy's gonna rip it out of your forehead.
I honestly just feel like they're gonna do that too. Like they're gonna have an intimate moment, him and Scarlet Witch, and then right as they're like about to do something, like Thanos will be like, "Alright, oh bye." Yeah, that'd be cool. But I like that though. I like that whole setup and how Hawkeye like rescues.
I thought that scene was hilarious.
Yeah.
Where Hawkeye's like, "Yep, the door's over here. Come on, let's go. Come on,
come on."
And she's just like standing there. He's like, "Come on, like okay, like."
He's gonna be back here in 5 seconds. Yeah. It was cool. I love that whole chemistry. I like when they use Hawkeye well enough. Like I assume they were going to kill him off in Age of Ultron and stuff to some degree, possibly. But I like that they've tried to make his character more and more interesting with each film, and that he's developing too as a good character through these movies slowly and surely. But Jeremy Renner is such a good actor too with that character. It's just he makes him just automatically charming. Like you're already the minute he shows up, you're already like on his side to like be like, yep, nope, follow him, go out the door, Yep, okay. So,
like treating like Scarlet Witch like a puppy.
Well,
come here, Scarlet Witch. Oh, it's a good Scarlet Witch.
That's basically what she is to some extent in this movie. Like, I want to go shopping. No, you're gonna stay here. Like it's kind of cool because they basically, like, the funny thing is with Tony in this movie too is just that he's consistently keeps fucking up, and it's only till Civil War that he finally realizes that maybe if I stop trying to, not make things happen, it won't blow up in my face. Maybe he might finally learn that lesson. So I like that. Like, like I'll stop all war. Oh, I made Ultron. I'll stop us being unregulated, and that blew up in my face too. And it's like so. The thing I liked most about Tony in this film was the fact that I love Robert Downey Jr. as the character, but we've talked about this too. It's just the fact that he's played a very charming Tony Stark, which is true of the comics. Tony's very charming, but he's also a huge asshole, and we've gone about that on for quite a bit, and now like it's finally coming full front where we're seeing a lot of the asshole Tony from the comics finally, and to this certain extent it's throwing people off. Like they're just like, oh, I didn't know he, and it's like, yeah, he's like this in the comics like all the time. That's why he's mostly alone and used to be drinking, but not drinking anymore. But that's where he ends up. The part where it shows that he and Pepper aren't together anymore didn't surprise me at all. Because like even when on Iron Man 3, I'm like, this isn't gonna last. And then you don't see her at all in Age of Ultron. I was like, yeah, that's where I saw this going.
It also makes a little bit of more sense too, because the whole when he blows up all of his suits at the end of 3 to make her happy, and then it's like right back to Age of Ultron. He's like, hey, look, I've got another suit made other robots. Wait a second.
No, but at the same time too, like they don't like not explain it. They bring it forefront, like when it's just Steve and Tony talking in a room where he's trying to get him to sign, and you hear Tony's part of his life where Tony's mentally at makes sense. It's just like he's like, yeah, I tried to quit, but I'm me, and I'm going to keep doing this, and she wasn't having that, and that's just how it is, kind of thing, and like you get it. It's not like where it's like Iron Man 3. Where he's only just then, going with post-traumatic stress disorder, and then being all like, oh, I'll just do this and make more things and avoid talking about problems and whatnot. So I like that they have that moment, like where he's at least talking about his issues, because like he needed to finally fucking do that. I felt so. The movie's very well written. It's it's long, but it gives enough time for everything to be said and done, and to make the story feel whole for that movie for the most part, as far as I can tell. That's one thing I want to mention too. Most times when we do this podcast, I've usually seen the movie like 2 or 3 times. I've only seen it once so far, so that's my just reactions with that one viewing and whatnot. So,
how about Giant Man?
Giant Man was cool. You spoiled it for me months ago, but I totally forgot about it. You told me that there was a Lego set with Giant Man. Yeah. But then I had totally forgotten about it by the point when the movie came on. So even when he was talking about, I tried this in the lab once or twice, I hope it works, and then he jumps and he's Giant Man, I was like, oh, yes!
Le gasp!
I don't know why I turned to Pepe Le Pew, but alright.
And then, no, I liked it afterwards, because then when Tony's there, it's like, if anybody else has got some, like, ridiculous thing to do, you might want to try it. Like,
do it now. Oh, the best part was when he takes the little truck and he throws it, and Cass makes it big again and explodes on them. He's like, "Oh, crap! I thought that was a water truck." Oh man, yeah. I can't really express. I mean, it's funny too because even when you think about it, you're thinking like, really, they're fighting in an airport? That's the climactic battle? Like, okay, but then you see it and you're like, oh, okay, this is really good actually. This is like it was done well enough, and it was enthralling enough to basically say and do everything they needed to do with those characters. Like Spidey is awesome in the fight. They make
There's one part where Tony's chasing down Hawkeye and I think Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
They're running. And they're running down like an aisle with like planes on either side of them. And all of the explosions don't even come close to Hawkeye or Scarlet Witch. It's like Tony's specifically aiming at planes. And like all the planes blow up around him. And I'm just sitting there just watching being like, aha! Tony hates planes. like
yeah.
Which is funny because it's not even like no explosions even like land behind him. It's like literally like on either side of him. All the
No. Well,
but like
you could also say that Tony doesn't want to like murder them. He just wants them to like stop running, basically. So if they see like fiery planes around them, maybe they'll be like, maybe we shouldn't go this way. Maybe that's bad.
maybe we should.
No, but Spidey. Sorry, I gotta say it again. But yeah, he says and does everything pretty much to a T, like that he does in what Falcon says to him. You do realize I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but there's usually not this much talking. He's like, oh, okay, and then he proceeds to kick his ass. And they show right away his strength when Cap like knocks the runway on him and he grabs it, the giant runway, and then they do the exchange like, where are you from, kid? Queens. He's like, oh yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. I thought that was great. And then when Winter Soldier goes to punch him, he grabs the metal arm. And he's like, you have a metal arm? That's so awesome! Yeah. Trying to think anything else that we missed here. Giant Man was awesome. I like when Black Widow basically helped them to get away, and then they're back at the Avengers compound, like on the that they made at Age of Ultron, and Tony's like, yeah, I guess I should have expected that from you, being a double agent and all that stuff. And she's just like, and she just doesn't take any of it. She's just like, look, I'm not the one that's going to have to be looking behind my back from now on. And then she just leaves Tony, and Tony's just like kind of sitting there like, I'm kind of, I'm kind of sad and pathetic, aren't I? I guess I'm a little bit, yeah. Trying to think, is there anything else you want to add that you can think of?
No, not right now. I'll probably think of stuff later and be like, ooh, I should have said that, but not right now.
Okay, man. I'm trying to think if there's anything we didn't go over. I mean, yeah, it's written well. It makes a lot of cool references to the comic. It's not obviously the comic in full, because obviously, you know, it has as many characters and whatnot.
A lot more characters survived.
Yeah, but again, I think the Russos knew too that like people are getting sick of death in the Marvel universe.
I was saying that's something I read about, is that they purposely didn't kill anybody in this one, not even like the bad guy
not
dies.
even not even Cap dies in it, because everyone was assuming Cap was going to die.
Because they felt like it's become such a cliche to have a superhero movie where somebody dies and then comes right back to life.
Either in that movie or the next movie.
Yeah. It's like, think of how many times it's happened. Like in Batman and Superman dies, but did he? In Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot dies, but does he? Like,
in Thor 2, Loki dies, but does he?
It's like,
even Avengers, Coulson dies, but does he?
Right, and so they were just like, they think it's more impactful to have a storyline that the character doesn't die, but it's still like a loss.
Yeah.
It's like, not physically losing them, but like they're lost kind of as a character and they have to go into hiding or whatever. It's more, I don't know. Yes.
No. I liked it that it was suspenseful and intenseful, and that yet everything kind of worked to its own way. But yeah, they knew it would mean more. I think just the fact of them being at mental odds at the end, rather than say someone dying because of it, and then like, oh, don't worry, they'll be back in the next movie. Because I mean, granted, I don't want to compare this because it's not as big a thing, because it's not, he wasn't a very well developed character, but like when Quicksilver dies at Age of Ultron, everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, like nobody really cared.
No one really cared, and it's like, it's alright, he'll probably be back in like 2 movies from now, or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Like, it's his younger self that ran so fast that he went through, wait a second, he's not the Flash.
No, they're probably going to bring him back in Infinity Wars with the Gauntlet. That's my theory anyway, even though Kevin Feige's like, no, we really killed him off. We really did, for sure.
Pretty sure that they probably did kill him off.
Yeah, maybe.
Why would they bring him back? There's no reason to.
I guess not. I don't know. They already know Quicksilver's already better in the Fox movies. I guess. I don't know. Trying to think anything else we might have missed. There's articles. I don't know. I just want to bring these up because you and I kind of got it, but like, Nick Fury isn't in the movie. And they had to basically come up with an article explaining that, yeah, he didn't really need to be in the movie because he's already kind of like off. He's like off the charts at this point. Like, he has his own version of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's under the books. You know, he's kind of detached from the government type of deal at this point, so he didn't need to be in the movie. I don't know why we need to explain this, but that's there. However, there was a good article where someone was like, I mean, granted, we know in the real world why it didn't happen because of, like, you know, deals and whatnot, but why didn't Tony Stark recruit Daredevil instead of Spider-Man? And they came out with an article that said, well, he works in the shadows, and you know, he's kind of also a low power, you know, human, as opposed to Spider-Man who can lift a giant car over his head, which is a lot different. Though I think it would have been cool to see Daredevil in the movie, but you know, it is what it is.
You didn't see him in it?
Daredevil in Civil War?
No.
No, I didn't think so. You would have brought that up, I feel. But we should talk about the end credit scene. So mid-credit scene was obviously putting Bucky away in the chamber there in Wakanda, and that's where they are, and you know, it's hinting at, you know, Black Panther solo movie. The end credit sequence was great because it takes place with Peter right after the airport battle, and he's lying again to his Aunt May, and he's like, yeah, this guy Steve from Brooklyn, you know, he hit me, and his friend was huge, I mean giant. And as he's holding the ice to his eye, and then Aunt May leaves, and then he see a light coming out of his web shooters, and he puts it up to the ceiling, and then it goes up to the ceiling, and it's the Spider-Man symbol from the 1960s. But it's also like you mentioned, it's like a home page as well. It shows different stats and what.
One of the things that was blinking is I think his web cartridge was low.
Yeah.
So it was notifying him that he needed a new web cartridge.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. So that's the thing though too. Like, how many people actually know? I didn't think about this. How many people actually know Peter Parker's identity then? Tony Stark, obviously.
In comic books?
Well, no, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. So it'd be him, Tony. Do any of Tony's team know Parker's identity?
I don't even think Captain America knows who he is, even though he knows that he's from Queens.
That's about it, yeah.
I think only Tony would, because he didn't really...
He didn't reveal, he just sort of...
I mean, if Rhodey doesn't even know, and he's like, how young is this guy? Like,
yeah. That's true. So it might just be Tony then at this point, unless there's some girl that knows we don't know about yet in like the solo movie. But okay, I was just trying to get an idea, because like
Mary Jane Stacy or Gwen Watson.
I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering who they're gonna go with. I wonder if they're just gonna go right out of left field and just start with like Felicia Hardy, just to throw something out there, but. They might even go with a whole new girl, depending, because they've already...
Oh my god, a new girl!
I don't know. But they've already done the Mary Jane arc with Raimi's films, and they did Gwen's arc terribly in the Amazing films, so... I don't know. We'll have to see what they're going to do, but... Like I said, hopefully with solo Spidey movie it's good, so... Alright, let's wrap this up.
Right.
I thought this would be a lot longer, but I guess we talked about this before the podcast even happened. But that being said, overall... I loved Civil War. I thought it was one of the better comic book movies. People would ask this, I guess. They would look me in the, because they keep comparing the films. But like, did you like this, like, more or better than Batman v Superman? For me, it's actually kind of even. I loved them. I loved the movies both because they were both great for their universes and what they did, and I loved seeing all the characters realized on screen. So, I mean, that for me, that's how I felt. I loved both movies a lot. But yeah, Civil War, definitely one of the better films of the year. Might be my favorite Marvel film, but I've only seen it once. I had to see it again before making a final judgment, but really, really good movie. KJ?
I really liked it. Like I said, I feel like it opens up a lot more doors for the future stuff. Which
Yeah.
Obviously, like the Black Panther movie, the Spider-Man movie, and it'll be funny to see, because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is supposed to be pretty dark too.
I guess.
Supposed to be
I don't
much
know.
more like emotional.
And not end with a dance off.
Yeah, and so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right, we'll see what they do. What I was gonna say, what I liked about the movie most was that, like you said, it set up all this other future stuff, but it didn't feel like filler. It felt like its own good contained story, which is what I think Age of Ultron's biggest issue was. So it's basically what Avengers 2 should have been. That's basically
Avengers 2.
yeah.
The other one was Age of Ultron.
Very, very accurate. Okay, that's all I got. And
I'm good.
all right, guys. Well, have a good one. Go see Captain America Civil War as soon as you can.